tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, about me, I currently live in DC, was raised in North Carolina mostly, and have lived in a bunch of places. Lived in a bunch of places before we settled in North Carolina, but when I was a kid, lived in a bunch of places as an adult. Spent time in Atlanta. I'm a graduate of Spelman College. Um, I'm a third generation HBCU graduate.
Mm.
So HBCUs are really big in my family. Um, so currently living in DC, working writing grants for a nonprofit that houses homeless women. I write poetry, I write essay, I write fiction, and I've been publishing a lot of it, as much of it as I can, for a while now.
Yes, I was
Kind of,
going to ask, when did you like seriously start into saying, "This is my career. I want to be a writer"?
well, for me, it was early in my life that I decided I wanted to be a writer. I was very committed to wanting to be a writer. I knew I expected that I might need to have a day job and that I might not be able to like completely sustain myself off of writing as I got older and started to think about the logistics. But from the time I was young, I was writing and I was fascinated and I was writing juvenilia that my family members were supporting and I I decided that for my training I wanted to read as much as I could. Um Find writing community. I did it's now called a different major or something at Spelman, but I did the creative writing minor at Spelman and studied under poets. I decided I wanted to get this fellowship to write my first novel, and that became FES Is because I decided I want to do this so I can train myself to be a novelist so that I can write novels for life. And it just comes out of how deeply I was attracted to books from the time I was a kid. Just
That's beautiful.
I've always been all about immersing myself in books.
Oh, that's so nice. So I noticed you mentioned that your family is supportive, and that's really nice because sometimes you don't hear that. Writers sometimes have trouble explaining what they do to, to their family. The family doesn't understand, so the writer often feels isolated. So tell me a little bit about what your family has meant to your career, and any who in your family was the most influential to you.
Well, my mom got us library cards and was very big on reading, huge on reading, always pushing the books on us. And my grandma, um, aunts, we're I think because our family values books, and even people in my family who don't read books value books,
That's great.
and think of that as yeah, that's a cool thing that we respect. So now, sometimes with the subject matter of my books, I don't always think of my family as being my audience.
Uh-huh.
But they kind of roll with it and cheer me on.
That's great. That's great. Now how about in your college life and your early professional life, were there any professors or anybody that really championed what you were doing?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Ugh, how do I even name them all? Well, Sharon Strange and Opal Moore of Spelman College were some of my writing instructors, and they're both working writers, phenomenally talented writers, as well as educators, which are different skill sets. And I was introduced to Leonardine Moore of the Carolina African American Writers
Ah,
Collective,
yeah.
and that's even how I found out about Aquarius books for the
Oh,
first time.
wonderful.
And who else? When you're in the classroom like that, and I think many of my friends from Spelman are still some of my closest writer friends today, people who are still writing, still publishing, that I'm in touch with.
Excellent.
I was reminded by one of them that we we had phenomenal people visit us and speak to us. Percival Everett came
Mhm.
and spoke to us way back before he was a huge
Yeah.
deal, back when he was just writing in his niche, cranking his books out for Grey Wolf, and he came to our classroom. He spoke to us.
Nice.
A lot of cool writers we had the chance to speak to.
That's
That was where I
excellent.
first met Nikki Finney, who was my conversation
Mm.
partner for my debut
Ah,
novel. She came through
excellent.
Spelman and we had a workshop with her. Bell Hooks, um, through my mentorship by Dr. Beverly Guy Shefdall.
Ah,
She was someone who I came to know through Spelman, and she actually read Fez's a Mirror all those years ago.
oh, wow. Wow. So, yeah. Oh, great. Well, that leads to another question. How long, I mean, where did this idea for Fez as a mirror come from? It's so unique.
Well, it came from a lot of things. Like, that's a really big question.
Mhm.
So I'll try to answer that question the best I can. So, so I'll try to answer this question the best I can. How how the whole synthesis of this entire book came together that is doing a lot of things. So I had a very bad accident before I left for Morocco to go to write this book.
Mm.
I was in a coma for a couple of days. I was paralyzed. I had to learn to walk again. That sounds. I want to go through this part very quickly because I don't want people's jaws to drop. But I'm like lying in my bed recovering for months, and luckily they delayed. They were able to give me a stay for my fellowship, and I'm feeling now that I'm more articulate around like disability justice and things like this. I would have different words for the ways I was feeling at that time when I was like only able to use a wheelchair and things like this. But at the time, I just remembered this feeling of the way that you're touched and you're handled and regarded like you're outside of humanity. So, s- it's like that's the best I can describe it. Like people treat you like you're just like, whoa, just like, oh my gosh, this creature. And and I started reading about feral children around that time as I'm recovering and waiting to go to Morocco. And I really thought I wanted to place a character in my book who had been abandoned and raised by animals. And so I came to Morocco eventually. I'm figuring out what I want my book to be about. I did a lot of time in Fez because that's where my language study was. And I was specific I did take some standard Arabic, which I'd also studied in college, but I was very specifically focused on learning the Moroccan dialect because I wanted to speak to Moroccans in their language as they speak to each other. So I'm in FES studying my language, and I had an interest, and I think I put some of that in the book because it's such a, what's the word? It's such an intense city. Everything about it is intense. Um, and
Yeah, intense in what way?
for-
Mhm.
everything's coming at your senses at one time. The crowds of people, the scents of animals and spices and leather, and um people are very socially conservative in Fez, so you have strict you kind of have some strict social codes in order to be okay by. But it's okay if you get the gist of it and you can hang out with people and stuff and have a good time. Um um but I was drawn back to Fez to write about after I spent some time in other cities in Morocco because of this event that I'd heard about. And and
Oh, what kind of event?
well, the central event of Fez is immune. So people would always say people would always say people would always say Wahed Hussein 91 in Fez. And that they were talking about this event that was in most people who were alive, other than small children's memory, when the government came into town and crushed the bread riots. And as as this caught my ear, and I asked people about it, and I heard things about it, and I learned that it was not actually in 91, but in December of 1990 that it happened, and people remembered it as 91.
Wow.
And I thought, man, I would love to use fiction to crawl inside this and try to understand this and go to that time and use my character, use my character that was raised in the wild, somehow get her in this context. I um I I had the idea that because she didn't speak, I would be telling her stories, her story using other people who were drawn to her and who were at the same time putting all of their impressions onto her for what they needed her to be for them.
Mhm.
And um so that was how the idea to have these revolving three voices of Aziz, Aisha, and Rachid. And um and I had to give Aisha my Americanness. So I made her the daughter of immigrants to America. I gave her my Americanness as a way of my entry point into the story. Because I knew I had to be very ethically sensitive telling the story of a culture I don't belong to.
Mhm.
And I even, in fact, did a whole independent study when I was applying for my grant to talk about those questions with my advisor, these questions, and to look through some of the Orientalist literature and the things that have portrayed people from that part of the world in different ways. with a Western agenda and all of these things like that. I didn't want to do it like that.
Right.
If there's any way that I can avoid it, if there is in the universe a possibility for someone from the West to set a story in a culture they don't belong to and do it in the right way, I wanted to do it in the right way.
Wow. That's outstanding. That's excellent. It's so great to hear. Yeah, the care that you put into the work and it shows in the work. It really comes through. So you've done a great job with that. Wow. So in the end, what do you really want readers to take away from this story overall?
Well, firstly, I want readers to find themselves in Sheep, the main character, because there's a reason why I used the case that I did, and and the and there's a lowercase I and a capital U.
Yes.
That's because I want the reader to see this you who is sheep as themselves in some way. And so I want the reader to start there and just like be able to get to this place where they can step out of conditioning and just enter story and just be enraptured by story. And I also think that there are a lot of lessons for right now for what's happening in the world in FES which is coming out years after it was written. Um,
Yes.
and because when I wrote the story, I thought, wow, this is an incident of a fascist regime in a country I don't come from. Now it's 2025 and I live in the United States and Donald Trump is doing the same thing to American citizens that the king of Morocco was doing
Mhm.
to Moroccan citizens.
Interesting.
And so I want people to make those kinds of connections about the way we live under states and just enjoy themselves and get lost in the sensoriness and
Mm,
the pathos of the emotions that the characters have with each other. I didn't want any of them to be stereotypes.
mm, mm.
So I hope that none of them are stereotypes. But I just want to I just want I just want readers to feel what the characters are feeling.
Excellent. Excellent answer. Well, I believe that they will. They're going to be amazed with this work and they're going to identify with it. And it's a brilliant work. It really is. And we appreciate the time that you put into putting this together and how careful you were with it. So it's going to go far and we're really proud of you. So, would you
Thank
like
you.
to read a little bit for us?
Sir, did you have, let me see. I tried to have it at hand, so here it is
Oh,
right
no
here.
problem. Take your time.
Did you have anything in mind or would you just
Oh
like me to?
God, I figure you should be the one to share maybe a little section that you think people would like, so they can really get a sense of the book.
Hmm. And I learned a lot of things too, because
Hmm.
this is a work that's based in research.
Yes.
And I hope that the things I learned that I put into this book don't come off as like, oh, here, she dropped this Easter egg here. But I hope they come off as authentic details, like things I put about singers
Oh yeah.
who are around in North Africa and in America and all kinds of things.
Oh yeah.
I'll read from the beginning because that's the best place I can think of to
Yeah,
start.
good idea. Yeah. Ready to
And
go.
I guess you'll cut me off.
Hmm.
I
No.
guess you'll
Oh,
cut me off.
I'll let you know. Yeah, just 5 minutes. So yeah.
Okay. If you can remember it, sheep, the world is vast and empty. When I was a boy, I used to stay awake at night listening to what was happening in our house. One room where we all slept and ate, lit at night by candles. If you looked at a flame from a candle straight on, unblinking, it danced in rhythm with the voice of whoever was speaking. Once in a long while, a traveler passed through, and I peeked at him shyly as we ate. I kept my eyes open that night, rolled it up in my rug against one of my brothers to hear what he had to tell my parents about himself. And I can remember a man who sold grain speaking with my parents one night, passing through on his way somewhere. He'd grown up in the desert too, but far from us. Crouched and quiet this night, he said, when I was small, I thought that my family and the nearest neighboring family were the only people on earth, that no one else existed, so vast is the desert. Our nearest neighbors, cousins of my father, were an hour's walk over brittle earth. The nearest city, Rachid, a day away. Somehow prison gives what Fez took away. That feeling I grew up with, that the world was stark. The barrenness I didn't know was bare until Fez filled it with cobblestone and hooded traffic and hoof traffic, someone always shouting, a fight always breaking out, skin against skin. You and me, we come from a place where the light from the stars is so intentional that you know they are watching you. It's a light so sharp you can hear it, a small sound in a back crease of your ear. Now my days are bare again. There's nothing but me in the whole world. Everything that appears in my day is sharp, except those things that lead one dull day into another. The arrival of the same tough crust of bread, the slow increase and decrease of the sun. From time to time, new prisoners come in and out of the cell where they keep me. I search them each with my eyes. Tall Congolese stopped on their way to Europe, pickpockets with slick hair, men looking scared and out of place, men looking seasoned and unfazed. Sometimes they stay for a few days, sometimes a bit longer, but no one has been here as long as I have. Sometimes the one cold, impossibly damp cell is filled with as many as 20 people, and filled with their smoke, their arguments, their commiseration. I watch, but I tend to keep my distance from them. They have nothing to offer me mostly, except for one. It's not my practice to take people as my confidants, only you. But he is good company for a while, and I think I can trust him to go and see about my sheep. I know that I don't stop thinking of you. I know you are helpless without me. I picture you alone and hungry. After all these months, I don't know how you're surviving, but I feel you're alive. Can't explain that knowing, but I trust it. Like how I know this kid is someone safe to send to you. Your blood knows blood. The ones who are for you, you feel it. The ones who are not for you, your skin recoils, crawls back on itself. You have to be stripped of everything else, I think, to be able to sense the world like this. Being in prison has refined my instincts, returned me to my nature.